and I want to talk now about winter storage. So this is any long-term storage. We call it winter storage because it's getting to be, that's what it's getting to be up here in Grand Rapids. We're half a degree south of the 45th parallel, so it's not as cold as Atlanta, Michigan, where it frosted again last night. But we're still in that northern climate, and we have to watch out for everything. So the damage I've seen from not storing your car correctly goes all the way from an infestation of rodents. I mean, you can fix it, you can fix an engine. I mean, have the car hauled off someplace or other, rebuild the whole engine because you've left it with the spark plugs out because you were going to tune it and you never tuned it, and it's 8 years later and the engine's frozen and you can't get it thawed out. And so what do you spend? Three, four, five, $6,000 on an engine? That's nothing compared to what damage rodents can do. So when you're looking for winter storage, let me tell you, that is one of the first and foremost things that you've got to get a look out for. There was a guy, John blank, can't come up with his name right now. I will later. Who had a TA, just had it all done. They were plowing a field next to his house, and they were plowing the field towards his house. So all the little mice kept getting closer and closer as they got dislodged and evicted from their premises. Kept getting closer and closer to his house, and filled up his garage. And he went out to sit in the car one day, and the seat felt funny, and the whole side of it, the whole leather side, had been eaten away by mice. They just do such damage. We used to put just water in the engine back in the day when, like I can't afford that extra $4 for antifreeze back when it cost that. So you put water and you say, look, dude, you got to make sure before it freezes, come this fall, this winter, you got to put antifreeze in. I'll remember. And they don't. One guy, we rebuilt his engine 2 times because he failed to put antifreeze in it. So the real solution is never put water back into it. Always put antifreeze in it, and then it'll be okay. 50-50 solution. Um, um, Damp storage can be just a horrible thing. Everyone's got stories of pulling a car, a barn find out, had been sitting on damp, and that damp comes up underneath and rusts the whole undercarriage. It's so frustrating. So there's some basic rules about the winter storage. Those are on our website. It's an article that I wrote last time. This one is dated 2004. I'm not sure I've added anything much to it since then. But when you store your MG for an extended period, you store it with the hood erected, the soft top erected, so it doesn't all get folded up. And if it's folded up, it makes a nice house for mice, and they'll chew through your top, something the size of a silver dollar. And there's this hole right through your brand new double duck, $800 canvas top, and it's just, you can fix it, but it's so frustrating. And if it's an MGB with a plastic top, call it what you want to, but they're either cloth or they're plastic. Um, um, those vinyl, those will shrink over the course of the winter. They'll shrink, and you go to put that thing up in the springtime, you can't stretch it. You've got to wait for a warm day and put it outside, and really let it get hot and limp and pull. It's a whole lot easier just to store the car with the top up. Vacuum the car before you put it away. Just be nice to it so that when you go to get it out in the springtime, it's nice. Put a full tank of gas in it. There's still some ambivalence here about whether you should sort with a little bit of gasoline to go bad or a lot of gasoline to go bad. But the old-fashioned rule was that if the oh, here goes my mute all button. Not because I don't like you, but got to get the background out. Um, so the old line was that if you got enough gasoline removed from the tank, that it would rust on the inside. Well, that was before they had the charcoal canisters. Those started in 1970. if there's one on your car after 1970. Sometimes people take them off. Terrible mistake. So you want to make sure that you put something in the gasoline. Stable, it makes a product. I don't know what it does. Beats me. Is it good? Is it snake oil? Lots of people use it. Sea foam is another one that people use, and something to stabilize the gasoline. The same stuff you'd put in your boat or your two-cycle weed eater, or a chainsaw, or snowmobile, or anything else to hold the gasoline from complete deterioration. On the other end of that, when you go to get it out in the springtime and you pull the choke out, it should fire right up, of course. But if it doesn't, you can always shoot some ether or carburetor cleaner in the carburetors, and that'll start it up and get it going. And usually it'll run fine after that. Sometimes you have to introduce a lot of fresh gasoline, high test gasoline, into the tank because the volatile components that make the octane, because there's no longer any tetraethyl lead, those lightweight volatile components boil away at atmospheric pressure. Even when it's cool outside, they boil out of the tank. And then the gasoline isn't so good to start the car. It'll run the car just fine once it's warm, but it gets hard to start. You want to make sure that your fluid levels are up, clutch, brake, stuff like that. Of course, the antifreeze, you want to make sure that's all right. To keep the rodents out, you can go to the grocery store and buy bags now, little bags, ENOZ, nose. It's mothballs. It's old-fashioned naphthalene mothballs. There were mothballs available for a while that were paradichlorobenzene, and nothing wrong with them. They kept the mice away. But when you put your head in the car, you go, wait, I know that smell. It was the smell of those old pink urinal cakes back in the day from public toilets. Anyway, that's not a nice, the naphthalene makes it smell like your grandma's cedar chest, and it keeps the mice away. That's the advantage. You want to store the MG with fresh oil. If you don't drive it enough to change the oil but once a year, and you must change it once a year, change it just before you store it. So all that time that it sits still, the acids that are in the oil don't etch away at the bearings and cause premature bearing crankshaft failure. I've seen some doozies. Oh my gosh! But, in my time of taking these cars apart, the bearings are just unbelievably etched away from the acids in the oil. So just change the oil and filter before you store it. That's a good idea. Where should you store it? Well, let's see. You've got to consider the location. Is it at your house? Is it your grandma's house? Is it 18 miles away? The access, the traffic around the car. I had an MG parked in a garage one time, and I took an old top mattress that still had the loops on the side, tied ropes to those, slung them over the rafters, and put that between everything else and my MGA, so nobody'd run into it with something small. You got to concern yourself with that traffic, with the humidity, with the temperature, with animals, and owner maintenance. You might say, well, I'm going to go out and take a look at that car twice during the winter. Really? You're really going to do that? Don't promise yourself you're going to do it if you're not going to. Just make it easier and don't do it. So let's talk about some of the things, some of the systems in the car. You want to make sure you got insurance. Got to have insurance on the car. You got to have not road insurance because you're not be out driving it, but when the tree falls on the garage and the garage smushes the car, and the kids get in and vandalize it, or the mice eat it up, or you got to have insurance on your car. So we talked about the engine. About the only engine maintenance there is to make sure there's plenty of fresh oil in there. Just before you store it, change it. And if you want, you can open up the bonnet and expend an entire can of WD-40, something like that, on everything on the inside of the bonnet. Just make it drip. Now, your garage is going to end up smelling like a WD-40 factory for a couple of days longer. But then once the carrier evaporates, all that sticky is left on everything, and it will cut down the amount of corrosion that you might get on the SU carburetors or on the it just holds everything. It puts a coat on a coat, an impenetrable coat on everything, so the oxygen can't get to it. The ignition system, there isn't much you can do. You don't have to do anything. If you've stored a car for 20 years and you go to start it, no spark. You look down just take the cap off and you watch the points, and the points are making and breaking. But there's no electricity going through because the tungsten or silver points have corroded. But I've never talked to anybody who said, "Oh, well, I put a piece of, I don't know, a matchbook cover as though you can find one of those between the points or something while I store it." That's unusual. Cooling system, we talked about that. That's the antifreeze to make sure that that's okay. The fuel, we talked about the fuel and making sure you put stable or something in the fuel to make sure it's all right. The clutch, two problems with the clutch. One is that it freezes, rusts to the flywheel and or the pressure plate. And if that happens, you cannot get it out of gear. You can thaw a frozen clutch. I've always been successful. I have never failed. One time I thought I was going to, because I was out in the car for 20 minutes trying to get the clutch to break free, and I finally did it. At Brit Bits in 1980, some car that Sam Smith had or his partner, Magnet. Anyway, so you can make the case, I would not do this, of depressing the clutch pedal, putting a stick between the pedal and the front of the seat, piece of wood up there or something or other, and just holding the clutch partway disengaged throughout the time. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, you could do that to prevent the rusting, or you can just go out, halfway through the winter or pretty soon the next spring. Don't leave it for 5 years. Don't store it in a rusty place. But those are some things that can happen with the clutch. The suspension. Suspension includes wheels and tires. That's you can make a case that having the tires sit in the same place all that time is bad for the tire. It might develop a flat spot. Sure seems like it would if it was stored long enough. Nylon tires always get flat spots. We don't have nylon tires anymore. So you can jack the car up and support it by the suspension. Jack stands under the rear axle. Jack stands way out at the end of the A-arms to keep the suspension in its normal loaded position. If you just jack it up and put jack stands underneath the wheels, underneath the frame, then all the suspension collapses and it stresses all the rubber bushings that are in there that are not designed to sit stressed like that for such a long period of time. I had a guy call me up from Ohio and he says, "I've got it. I found the perfect way to keep mice from getting up inside the car." I said, "Okay, hey, I'm game. I'll listen." And he said, "Jack the car up on all four jack stands. Underneath each jack stand, put a big pizza pan, and in each pizza pan, pour in used motor oil. And no mouse will swim through the motor oil to get to the jack stand to explore the car." All I could think of was what a mess what a mess it was going to be in the springtime or even in the winter when you accidentally step on one of those pans. Some people put tape over the exhaust to keep mice from crawling up inside the exhaust. Does that happen? Everything happens. We started up a car one time. It'd been stored for a long time, and we started this thing up. I don't have anything here to knock with, but this we started it up, and it's the engine goes And I thought, oh man, it's got a rod knock. It wasn't. It was pieces of dog food flying out of the tailpipe and hitting a tin can. It was so bizarre. Anyway, mice get everywhere. I have found mouse nests inside of engines. So mice get everywhere. You could put tape over the exhaust if you're so crazy you wanted to do that. Um, Brakes, do not store the car with the handbrake on, or you won't get the handbrake off. It'll freeze to the drum just the same way the clutch is going to freeze to the flywheel. So leave the handbrake off. Um,
John,
yes.
tr- I put steel wool in a tailpipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
And
you
if I
don't have
forget
to
about
remember it's
it,
there. It'll blow it right out.
no, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
John,
Yeah.
rather than some of the stuff you mentioned, we use liquid essence of peppermint soaked in cotton balls and bowls throughout the car, plus dryer sheets. Never
Okay.
had a rodent problem. But I did
Okay.
work on a TD that something crawled in the muffler and died. We had to replace the whole thing, and there were seeds on top of the pistons.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. If you don't, we put actually we put tarps down on the cement because we're doing in a carport.
Okay.
Put tarps on it and put it on the jack stands like you said, and then use that peppermint and you don't have a bad smell then.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good idea. The batteries. We're going to talk about the batteries. What are we going to do about the batteries? So, if it's at home, and your garage is not stone cold. It's attached to the house somehow. It's got a little bit of heat. Leave the battery in the car. Maybe put a battery tender on it. I'm not sure I'd leave a battery tender on it all winter. Might leave it on for a week and then take it off and put it on the next month. Of course, then you got to remember all that stuff. Battery tenders hardly ever fail, but when they do, they wreck the battery. So if you are going to get a battery tender, make sure that you get one that's a higher quality than another. But if your car is going into dead storage, it's cold, your neighbor's barn just where it's windswept and cold, take the battery out and bring it and store it someplace. You must protect it. You've got to have a cover over the top of the battery. There's so much energy inside a battery. Just and if you let it all out in a short time, like I don't know, a tire iron falls between the two posts, that tire iron will turn red hot. There's a phenomenal amount of energy stored inside a storage battery. Um, and the body itself, again, we talked about spraying WD-40 down there, and Bob said he used uh, not peach oil. What did you say? Not olive oil, some kind of something smell.
Peppermint,
Peppermint,
essence
peppermint.
of
So
peppermint. Yeah.
they say, I'm not a biologist. They say that rodents gauge their world by smells. And if you put down a smell that's so powerful, so potent, they can't tell what else is going on and they won't go there. There's other places to go. They'll stay away. So it repels them because they don't like that smell. So, um, um, there's no end to what you can do, of course, to rust prevention, but just make sure that the car is nice and clean. It's been the inside's clean. I remember going inside. We used to drive my late wife's MGB GT every single day of the year. How could I be in the MG business if I wasn't a true believer? And I remember going out one morning and I'd left an apple in the seat, and the apple was completely stripped of all of its um, whatever apples have skin, and with little tiny teeth. So I set some traps and caught the perpetrators, sent them to the big mouse in the sky. But if there's nothing in the car, they're not going to make a home there. They're not going to fiddle around inside there, except to find a warm place to stay. God, I had a guy with a TR6. He came around and he was just ecstatic. He said, "Oh my God, I finally bought this car." He's a big guy. He's 6'3". I bet, I don't know, I don't think 300 pounds, but he's a big guy. And he was just so excited. He says, "Come on, take it around the block with me." And so I took it around the block, but I had to have my head out the window so I could breathe because the smell from the heater box, which was laden with mouse, was so offensive. I couldn't say, I don't know why he didn't smell it. So a couple of weeks later, we did some work to it. Actually, we took the mouse nest out, which took a long time. We had to use little grabbers and a lot of compressed air. And we had some stuff in this trigger sprayer that we could spray, some kind of enzyme cleaner, odor eater. And it worked pretty well. You can never get rid of all mouse smell, but we got rid of a lot of it. He came by a couple of weeks later. He says, "Well, I got to sell the car." I said, "Oh, domestic issue?" That was my euphemism for your wife can't stand it. Spending too much money on it. And he says, "No, no." He says, "I can get into the car." He says, "But I can't get out." So anyway, that was my ride with mice. Oh my gosh, it's so avoidable, so avoidable. So I think I've covered, I think maybe most everything that I want to, but I would encourage you to go on the website, universitymotors.online. And Marty says that it's pretty easy to find. I looked for it this morning, couldn't find it, but now it's in an easier located place, and you'll be able to find the winter storage printed out. It's just ideas. You don't have to do anything. Just drive in the car, take the key out, walk inside. Go back out in the springtime. It'll probably work. But if you want to take better care of the vehicle. Best care is heated garage someplace, or someplace at least doesn't get down to freezing. But
Hey,
those
John,
those are few and far between.
Hey,
Hey, John,
John,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Jim Pastor.
Hey, to further Bob's point about the essence of peppermint, I've been buying, go to Hobby Lobby and buy those little jewelry stacks. They're about 2 inches,
Okay.
and you can put 4, 5, 6 mothballs in it, or you can take a piece of felt, roll it up, or cotton balls, put it inside and dip them, and then lay them around, and then you can reuse them. I just take them out every year. I empty them out, put new mothballs in, and you can get a pack of like 20 or just small jewelry bags
Okay.
to people, what I'm talking about.
How many cars do you have stored down in your garage?
In the storage garage, 13.
Okay. So Jim
The
knows
house,
some.
yeah, the house garage,
Not
there's
not all of them.
3,
Not
and
all of them are Jim's. Most of them,
no,
but
yeah, and I have 7 in my shop. So,
okay. All right.
but yeah, but it's heated as well. But those little jewelry bags are awesome
Okay.
because you can just put 5 or 6, mothballs in there, and then just lay them around. And they're cheap. And I'm sure if anyone doesn't know what it is, I see Gloria shaking her head there. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. So, they work perfectly, especially with the essence of peppermint, because you can just dip it, and then when you need to re-dip it, you just keep dipping it
Yeah,
instead of
it's
playing with
it's
it.
a lot nicer than this. These are the Enos mothballs, and they come in little packets, as described on the front there, and they sublime over a long. I mean, they'll take over a year probably for all of them to disappear, but you got to like triple bag it. Triple bag it. It's a pretty powerful, pretty potent
Yeah.
smell. Yep.
I don't like the smell it leaves in the car.
Yeah.
My son did it in his Focus, and boy, he was miserable all spring long because he said he could smell those stupid mothballs.
We
John,
used
And
to
eventually they go away.
we used to put them in. We used to get nylons, and we'd ask our customers for nylons, and people drop off old used nylons, And you drop the mothballs and the nylons, but I don't know. Do people still wear nylons? It seems like that's a since I don't, I haven't been paying attention.
They stopped wearing nylons?
Jewelry bags, I say.
All right, yeah,
Nylons
All
are
right.
gone.
So anyway, do we have some comments or
yeah.
suggestions, experiences?
John, Judd,
Yes, Judd.
a couple of comment and question. Of course, I'm in South Carolina, so we drive all year. Um, so that I spent 2 years in Maine driving a TR4 and just drove it all winter, which I think is the best thing if you can stand it, but we don't do that anymore. Talk about two things. One is occasionally running the car over the winter. And secondly is, okay, you stored it all winter and now it's time to start it up in the spring. Any special things you want to be thinking about
Sure.
when you start it for the spring, other than try the brakes before you go
Yep.
out on the road and
Good
check and see
idea.
that the light.
So people say, "Oh, I'm gonna, I go over once a month and start the car up and let it run for a little while." You don't let it run long enough, unless you're running it for like 20 minutes, because the exhaust doesn't get hot enough to evaporate all the water vapor that condenses down the pipe. If you're out on the road and you're driving 40 miles an hour, around, then the whole exhaust heats up and all that water vapor makes its escape. But if you're just idling, all that water vapor turns into water. All that water is water. All that water vapor is water, and it'll sit on the bottom of the muffler and rust it out. Unless, of course, you got the stainless steel muffler, but why even worry about all that stuff? So unless you're actually going to take the car out and drive it, I wouldn't repeatedly start it. I don't see that does any good at all. Go in and spin it over, take the main cap and take the main coil wire off and just spin it till you get some oil pressure and then let it go. But why even do that? I don't know. It doesn't if you can drive it, but don't start it and let it idle for just a little while. It doesn't do anything good for it. Then when you do go to get it up and going in the springtime, that's the time to disable the ignition just so it won't start. Spin the engine until the oil pressure gauge kicks and you can see you've got oil pressure. And from that point, you just start it up and go. That's the advantage of having fresh oil in it. And the only problem is if the gasoline has failed and it won't start with a full choke, you can give a couple of spritzes of ether, starting fluid, carburetor cleaner in there, and boom, it'll start right up and usually stay running. So
John, another thing, you were talking about the gasoline. We worked on a midget that the guy stored it for several years with a half a tank of gas. And then he says, my fuel pump doesn't work. Got him another fuel pump, nothing. So I put a gallon of gas in the tank and it started and ran. What happens is that pickup tube will rust, get pinholes in it. So I told him you can either keep a full tank of gas or we can replace the gas tank, which we did. But you need to fill up your gas tank to store it because things do rust.
I fall on that side of that equation too. And so the old tanks, like the T-type tanks, that you want those full of gasoline, so the air cannot get to the walls and rust them. You go, well, how would water get in there? Water gets into your brake system. How does water get in your brakes? It does. It just does. So if it's full of gasoline, the water won't get in there. So
And another thing, if we just have a carport right in front of our front door, so I can go out and touch my car anytime I want. But we got a really good car cover. It was on sale. It doesn't leave marks, and we put the car cover over it, and the wind blowing through the carport actually works good. The moisture doesn't
It does,
hang
it
there and
does,
rust
it
everything.
does ventilate. Let me say just a couple words about that while I hit the mute all. Um, if you do have your car, don't cover it to the ground. It's got to ventilate. You've got to get rid of all that moisture that's underneath. You know, somebody says, "Oh yeah, I've got this old car here, and I've had this tarp on it for 38 years." It's just, it's like it's as wet as the ground is on the inside. It's no good. It's got to ventilate. And you want to use a car cover that's cloth, not sheets of plastic. I we had one guy one year, a car, to be fair, the car had very recently been painted, and he wanted to protect it, but he didn't want to spend, $100 to send off to MG Mitten or wherever it was that you got the car cover at the time. So he covered it in plastic. In the springtime, he took those sheets of plastic and ripped one of them off, and off came about half the paint off his car. Yeah, it's embarrassing. So yeah, you don't want to do that, but you want to have lots of good flow through ventilation. Absolutely. We didn't talk about theft protection, but if the key's in the house and it's got a clutch, it's pretty well theft protected right there. If you take the battery out, then the only people that are going to get it are the people who maybe deserve to get it. They got a plan. They're going to get in your garage and push the thing out. So, any more comments about winter storage, long-term storage?
John
John?
Gary here.
Yes, Gary.
Okay, two things. Stable. I've got an 80 with ZS carbs, and for 2 years in a row, my first tank of gas, I couldn't get my idle to idle properly. It was either too high or too low until I ran that first tank of gas. I don't use stable anymore. Just I'm wondering if anybody else has had that problem. And the other thing is tires. I inflate my tires to 45 psi. Is that a good idea for storage?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You know, they're designed to take a certain amount of pressure.
Yes, but that's when
Um,
you're driving.
yeah. If they're inflated more than less, then the flat spot on the circumference is going to be less.
And
You
that's
know,
the purpose.
so
Yeah. And then the other, go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Pardon? Okay. And the other question is, a long time ago, I heard that you should put some cardboard or something between the tire and the concrete. So that my car is in a garage. It's not heated. I'm in Victoria. It very seldom freezes. But is there any purpose of having that barrier, cardboard barrier between tires and concrete?
Cardboard is no barrier. Plastic, yes. If you're
Okay.
on a garage floor and you've got some sort of moisture that's wicking up out of the concrete, absolutely. But
Well, how would I know? I don't think I have moisture wicking up. How would I know?
you wouldn't know unless you put a piece of piece of plastic on there about all winter and park your car on top of it. And when you took the plastic off in the springtime, you'd look underneath the plastic and on the concrete and go, "Oh, it's wet." You know. So I got to hit my mute all button here because I've got background noise. Now I don't. So Gary, you can re-engage. So anyway, Gary's gone for a moment. Do we have any other comments about winter storage?
Yes, good evening. I'm wondering how cold is too cold? I live in Minnesota, and the storage I've secured this year is a finished garage, but it is not heated. So, as you know, we can get 10, 15 below. Is it ever too cold?
No, no, not in the continental United States. No, no, you got to have enough antifreeze. If you're running 50/50 antifreeze, you're home free. And then the next item is the battery, because if the battery discharges, then the specific gravity moves from 1.25 down to 1, and it's water, and it will freeze and burst the battery. So those are the two bad things that happen in really cold weather.
Very good. Thank you. It does get, as I said, 10, 15 below and sometimes
Yeah,
colder with the wind chill. But as long as I put down plastic, take the battery into the house, uh, sounds like I'll be okay.
yeah. Keep the top erected. Yep, yep, yep.
Great.
And
Thank
put
you.
something, put a barrier around the car because no nature hates a void, and there's no such thing as an empty horizontal surface, after after it's been there for a couple of weeks. So, something gets put on top of it. A coat, Christmas present, something gets put on top of it. And pretty soon there's too much stuff on the car, and then something slides, and then the paint gets damaged. And so just a car cover is really nice. Just a cloth car cover. You can spend anywhere from, I suppose you can still spend as little as maybe 100 and a quarter, up to probably $500 for some fur-lined thing that you wouldn't buy for your girlfriend. Too fancy to fit in. There were for a while there were envelopes that you could buy, and you drive the car and zip the thing up, plug it in, and it had a little blower, and it would keep it inflated like Dome World. But it's always blowing air in, and the question is, what kind of air is blowing in there? Dry? How do you keep it dry inside there? So anyway,
I had another thought on since my cars are in a carport. Sometimes you get sun on them. So what we've been doing is putting big garbage bags over the tires. Because
yes.
somebody told me that it's not good to let them sit in the sun all the time. So for the winter, we cover them.
Yep, they with those incandescent that with those with the sunlight, that the rubber and the tire, I don't know if the word sublime is the right word or not, but it'll gas. It'll send gas out, and you'll see cars once in a blue moon. Somebody usually points it out to you, the owner who's just discovered it, and the tires on one side of his car look absolutely brand new, even though they were bought in 1987, and the other side are just cracked unbelievably, and you go, wow, and it's because it's been sitting in the sun. Yep,
So I'll keep doing it.
good idea.
John,
Yes,
Gerard, D'Angelo from Yardley. How are you?
yeah, fine, thanks.
Um, quick question. Like, this is all about with the cars being put away for the winter, but I had done some work on an engine and I built an engine stand. And I had, ran the engine to do some testing and stuff. And then I've taken it off the stand and I'm storing it now. What would be the best way to store an engine that's out of the car? Like, what would you
Well,
do to it?
you
I
can
mean, there's
make a
no
case.
radiator on it.
You can make a case for
Yeah.
putting it in a bag, so
Okay.
moisture can't get in, but then moisture can't get out.
I
So,
mean, it's in my shed under my bench on a dolly, I
yeah,
mean, right
so
now.
just
So
cover
it's
cover it with a big envelope, and spray the shit out of the externally with WD-40, and
okay.
take the spark plugs out and a couple great big squirts of oil in there and turn the engine over once. And the next time you think about it, your grandkid comes over, something or other, you go, "Hey, Ricky, want to turn the engine over?" Yeah, sure. Just do it, and it'll
Okay.
last indefinitely. So
Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah, John, I wanted to just add on the same thought.
Yes,
This
sir.
is Dave Herring. I used to work for UW Limnology, which we had a boat slip inside our building, and we got motors from Mercury Marine because we had motors in the water all year round. And I'm in Wisconsin, so it gets cold.
Yep.
And our usual procedure was just what you said: squirt oil down the spark plug holes, crank it over, leave it sit. You did more damage to your lubrication and winterizing if you started it up occasionally than if you just left it set. And just have faith that it's going to start. It will. I did this for 20 years, and
Okay.
we got free R&D motors from Mercury Marine
Oh my.
because we did have damp and cold conditions during the winter. Our boat slip wouldn't freeze, but it would freeze right up to steel doors
Oh my.
and that. So It got cold and very damp.
It's
So
that damp. It's the
yeah,
damp. It's not the cold, it's the damp. Yep. Yep.
that's why I wanted to reinforce what you're saying about the squirts of oil down spark plugs. It works.
Thanks.
I
Thank you.
was there when Mercury switched from 2-stroke to 4-stroke, and we quit fogging, but the squirt of oil doesn't.
Okay. Do we have any more comments about winter storage?
John?
Yes. Hey, Fred.
So, yeah, I haven't been around for a while because I've been busy with other things, but I'm glad you're doing
We're
well.
not, wait a minute. We're not important enough, Fred?
No, you're very important, but I had a bunch of other stuff to do, but I'm
Okay.
glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
But I had a camp down in Florida. I didn't have any MGs down there, but I had some old pickup trucks. And I found that if I left the bonnet up about 4 inches, the wharf rats wouldn't go in there and make nests and chew the wires and the vacuum lines and stuff like that. So
Okay.
just leaving the bonnet up, so a little bit of light got in there. Same thing with my wife's golf cart. They would make nests underneath the seat.
Sure.
So when we leave for the like 6 months, I'd leave the seat up a little bit so they wouldn't have a hidey hole to go into. All right. So that's the main thing with wharf rats and places that you're not going to be around for a while, is leave the bonnet up. Maybe even in the old days, when it got really cold out, you put a light bulb next to the engine, and it would keep it warm enough so that mice wouldn't go in there, and it would be light enough they wouldn't want to hide in there. So that's another item, is to possibly put, now these days with an LED light, they don't take much power.
No.
Put an LED light under there, and they won't attract the mice and rats and stuff to go in there, or squirrels or chipmunks. So that's just something to think about. The other thing is, I never put a cover over any of my cars because it just makes a hidey hole for the rodents to go hide in there.
Okay.
So I like to have lots of light in there. And again, the idea of having the hood up is a great idea, because I've seen so many hoods with holes, cut in them from rodents and stuff. So that's a good idea, but don't cover them unless you have a good way of keeping the rodents out. But don't cover your car during winter storage.
You can make a case for that. Yep.
Hey, John, Gary again. My audio somehow goes on mute automatically. But getting back to the stable that I was having problems for the first tank of gas, I was wondering if anybody else with a ZS has had the same problems, that the idle just does, you can't set the idle well for the first tank. Any comments on that? Other people?
Yeah, actually, I have the same problem. I just put some stable in mine, and I had it out driving yesterday, and I did notice at the idle, when I was, at a traffic light, and I decided to stop, that it was higher than what it normally was. But it hadn't done that before, and I didn't even think about the stable doing that. But I always run the stable through it for the winter when it sits.
Yeah, well, thank you for confirming. This happened 2 years in a row where I would, the idle was high, I would put it down low, and then it would stall on me, and it was the first tank of gas that it was not good on. So thank you for confirming that I won't use stable. I'll use seafoam rather than the stable.
Well, I didn't have any problem with it stalling or the idle going high and low and high. It just stayed a little bit high, which didn't really bother me none, but I didn't really think about it. I don't know if the stable is what's causing it. I imagine that's what it is, but I'm still going to continue to use it.
Yeah, no, what I was saying, meaning was that when my idle was high, I would lower the idle, and then it would go too low when.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I understand. Yeah, I didn't understand what you were saying there. Yeah, no, I just let mine alone, and it finds its own home after that tank of gas is
Yeah,
run through, I
the
guess.
secret is when you get it out, take it out on the expressway and drive all day. Get that,
Yeah,
get that
I
fresh.
I do take mine out on the interstate now and again, and just blow it out some, and that seems to it likes it. I think it smiles at me anyway.
Well,
Hey,
would seafoam not be
I don't,
a good alternative to
I
stable?
don't know, Gary. I don't know. They all make claims. So you either suffer through, don't change the idle, just continue using what you're using, and don't change the idle. Just wait until you get the fresh gas in there. And if you're idling 1400, so what? Um, and or try something else. And then when we have the same discussion next year, you can tell us how it worked out.
Yeah, well, I won't use stable, but I'll try seafoam.
Okay.
Hey,
John,
John.
this is Dave Herring again. I
Yes, sir.
commented a little bit earlier. We used seafoam a lot for
Okay.
winterizing and stabilizing marine motors,
Okay.
and always had good results with it. That's all I can tell you. We used stable too, but never had any problems with seafoam.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey,
I
John.
stopped using
There's a
stable.
John, I
John.
had a question about storing your car. If you change the oil before you store it, and then let's say you leave the car for, I don't know, 5, 10 years, whatever, do you change the oil again before starting it?
No, it's fresh oil.
Hmm?
It's still fresh oil. It hasn't been run through the engine. It hasn't got all the pollutants in it. That's a long time. Maybe after 10 years, maybe I changed maybe I changed the oil filter before I started it up. But if you pull the dipstick out and it's like fresh oil, it's fresh oil. Doesn't matter if it's been stored in a sump or stored in a plastic can.
Okay, I just afraid it would wear on the bearings or wear on something else from the acid in the oil.
Well, the acid in the oil, that's what happens when you don't change the oil in the fall, and then all those compounds that are associated with blow-by, which is water, and then there's hydrogen and nitrogen compounds, sulfur compounds. So they all make nitric acid, sulfuric acid, and hydrochloric acid, and they will etch the bearings. I should
But
have
you
put
don't have that
some.
in fresh oil.
What's that?
You don't have that in fresh oil though,
No,
if it's not been used.
no.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why you do it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
We
All
we
right. Well,
just looked up seafoam, and they claim that it says it's a good fuel stabilizer and can prevent fuel from degrading for up to 2 years. So
that's
but I haven't had that
that's
problem.
the
I stopped
advertising
using it.
guys.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But I haven't used stable for a while. Well, mostly because I forgot to put it in one year, and I noticed no difference. The gas is good at the end, so I just rather than forget, I just stopped using it. And but I use a good brand. I use Marathon Premium in my car, and I don't know if that makes a difference, but my car doesn't ping anymore.
Bob and Gloria may be onto something because even though down here in South Carolina, I don't put my car up for storage, I drive it all year. But I do have a home generator that most of the time doesn't do anything except sit there with a tank of gas in it. And I don't put anything in it. And after sometimes over a year, uh, I always run it until there's no fuel in the carburetor by shutting off the petcock. Now I open the petcock, push the button, and that sucker starts right up. I think it's snake oil.
maybe,
But I
maybe.
mean, even snakes kind of make a living.
It's 8 o'clock, so we're going to stop talking about winter storage unless somebody breaks back in with something like they all of a sudden thought of. And I'm going to go over to the um, chat section and see if we can get some interesting things going here. I got 30. Says I've got 30. If I can just make it work. Here we go. There we go. Just a minute here. We got Davis, California. Okay. Here's John's winter storage articles. And Jennifer's got a 53 TD. Thank you. Sean's got a 75 MG midget. Cool. And who's got the 30 uh, Pandy? Pandy. He's got the 34 PA. So yeah, he looks like he wins tonight. And let's see. Um, oh, Sean from Marshall. Sure, sure. Let's see. Eric's iPhone says you mentioned the charcoal canister and how important they are. And just a minute. I'm having the hardest time. Just a minute here. I got to get rid of a screen. And there we go. All right. You mentioned the charcoal canister and how important they are. I have an early 74 MGB. It wasn't running right. It would miss some on acceleration. I disconnected the canister and that immediately resolved the issue. Are the canisters serviceable or replaceable? Both. Both. So Eric, are you still on? Waiting for Eric. Anyway, okay. So the charcoal canisters are fitted 1970 through 1980 on all the cars. All the air that goes in and out of the gas tank has to go through the charcoal canister. Any air that goes in and out of the carburetor float bowls goes through the charcoal canister. The canisters are designed so that when the engine is running, fresh air is drawn through the canister, through the bottom, up through the top, through all the charcoal, and it sucks all the fumes that have adsorbed onto the charcoal and sucks those into the engine where they're sucked right back out again and into the inlet right behind the carburetors, either with the Smith's PCV valve, 64 through 68, or 69 through 80 on those ventilation tubes that are between the throttle and the suction chamber on the SU carburetors. The earlier cars just had an oil draft tube, and they didn't do any of that. So because there's always air going through the charcoal canister, and because it's hooked to the carburetor float bowls, if for some bizarre reason, like the charcoal gets too packed or there's a foam at the bottom and that gets jammed up or lots of reasons, you can end up with a vacuum inside the charcoal canister, and that will transfer over to the float bowls. It'll put a vacuum on top of the gasoline in the float bowls so that air pressure can't push the gasoline into the jets. It's restricted. So it always makes sense to make sure that everything in that charcoal canister is working well. You can take them out, you can take them apart. They simply unscrew. There's a couple of screens in there with some open cell foam like you'd buy at the hardware store for a window air conditioner. And you can buy open cell foam, cut a couple of discs of those, put it in there, put the screen back in. You can either activate the charcoal or just put it back in. It'll activate by itself. If you want to activate it, you put on a cookie sheet when someone else isn't home and put it out in the sunlight. Or if you don't want to wait, you take your propane torch and you hit it with a torch, and the gasoline will start to burn off the charcoal. But it's this charcoal, and it will turn gray, and it will cook a tiny little piece of chicken, but it'll turn to ash. So you don't want it to burn long. If you do light it on fire with a torch to clean it, to activate it, you want to have a rag there so you can flop the rag on top of the pile of charcoal, put the flame out, then go at it again with a torch and keep turning the charcoal until all the wisps of flame have finally quit. But you can catch it on fire and burn it just like charcoal in your grill. So anyway, or there's a problem with a line, or it's a 74 MGB, so the anti-run-on valve is hooked up wrong, or there's lots of possibilities. So anyway, but cleaning out that canister is a pretty easy one. So let's see. Michael says,
John, can I interrupt here?
"Sure, Gary."
So I've got a 1980 and my charcoal canister. I have two charcoal canisters. The charcoal's never been changed. I have the filters, but I'm 74 years old, and I'm not smelling any gasoline in my engine bay. So
They're
can
just
I
fine.
assume I don't need to? Pardon?
Correct. They're just fine. They're just fine.
They're fine. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Michael says, my ex-wife has been staying at my house because she has a mouse in her apartment going to try the mothball trick. You'll drive her out of her out of her apartment with the mothballs. Maybe nothing. There's no substitute to Victor mousetraps. Snap, and they're done. I pick up my late son's kids Saturday mornings, and when we after we do a couple of errands, we always come back to the house, and I always say, "What's the first thing we're going to do?" And they always check the mouse traps. They love to find dead mice in my garage. I love to find dead mice in my garage. It's a nice day when I don't find any mice in my traps. Um, anyway,
Get a cat.
no.
Okay.
I'll take the Victor mouse traps and the mice before I'll take the cat. So
Okay.
everyone has to make a decision. And you can't put a cat outside. That's unfair to the songbirds, and that's where those mice are. So anyway,
Yeah, I have
Jen-
I have a live trap. I had rats in my house, and they're intelligent beings. I don't want to kill them, so I end up getting a live trap, and I was able to trap things and then
yep,
release without killing.
yep. Yep, that's what my daughter said about the woodchuck that was living under my front porch. She says, "Well, Dad, just get a live trap and then go out and put it in the country." And I said, "So," because we used to live out in the country. I said, "Okay, so there's a car from the city. The guy stops in front of our house, opens up a live trap, and dumps a woodchuck in our lawn. How would you like that?" So anyway, I'm more of a I don't like to hurt the animals. That's why I like those Victor traps because it's done just like that. Um, they're very efficient, very fast.
I
Anyway,
ordered the Uncle Gus, by the way.
what's that?
The Uncle Gus. Yeah, there's a later on in the chat, people suggested there's a Uncle Gus peppermint
Oh,
infused
okay,
product that smells good and does repel mice. So I'll try that first.
okay. A Tundra. You got what's that? A Tundra 75? 1500
Yes, and
midget?
it's only on the road because of you. Thanks to mainly your videos. Your videos
Okay.
got it back going from once a year driving to once a week driving.
Hey,
So
how very nice. MG boy, I love it. Yep. Yep. Nice. So let's see. Jennifer says, I think Jennifer's coming in from California. I put mothballs in old pizza boxes underneath the car. The smell deters them, but it doesn't linger in the car. Okay. Yeah, sure. They have to be on the ground first. That makes all the sense in the world. So let's see. Edward Brown says we haven't had any really heavy winters in terms of snowfall here in West Virginia for the past several years. I typically drive my cars during the winter as long as there's no snow or salt on the road. But at least once every week or 10 days, I'm got to typically drive a week every 10 days. I just want to keep things lubricated. What are your thoughts? As long as you can go out and drive for 20 minutes, you're home free. That's fine. It's just enough to get the exhaust really hot so that there's no moisture that's going to hang around inside the unit. Let's see. Barry says, have to leave. Hope you're keeping well. Putting my 78 to bed tonight. Oh boy. So we got here just in time. So we've got Brad Schwartz has come in with a note here about driven racing oil, something about storage protection. So, maybe you can buy oils that claim to offer stuff. Someone else earlier wondered if it was snake oil. I don't know. SJ says regarding tires, what about parking the car on pieces of ridge foam board, supposed to ease the impact of being on hard concrete, but not sure if it is a thermal break from the concrete. I don't know. That's why you park on the cardboard to soften it up. But boy, there's still all that weight. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It can't hurt. It can't hurt, you know. Oh, here we go. Grandpa Gus Mouse. Repellent works and does not smell bad. Good. All right. Okay. Um, Stored my MGB at a friend's barn one winter. When I went to get it out, I sat in the seat to start it, and a mouse crossed my lap and ran out the door. Oh boy. I opened the boot and it stunk bad like mouse pee, and they chewed up my factory wool tonneau bar bag and made nests in the boot. Absolutely. And they also made nests up next to the master cylinder up underneath the bonnet. That's the first place that you ever find a mouse nest is next to the master cylinders on an MGB, next to the master cylinders inside the fender. That's just it's just apparently when they're making the cars, they put some mouse signs in there that said home for homeless mice, because they always go.
Even later in the MGA in that same place, and I think there's a sign that says vacancy, park here.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's why I say leave the bonnet up a few inches.
Yeah, that makes all the, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Al Gavsky says he tried all the remedies. Peppermint oil was the least effective. He says, I recommend killing them, set traps. So I had a gal come in one time and she says, well, okay. She said, no, I think she came in and she said, I set, 3 or 4 mouse traps inside the car. And I said, you know, ever read those stories where the police go in and a person hasn't moved off their couch in 8 years and they're part of the couch? That's what happens to mice in the carpet. The mouse becomes part of the carpet, or the carpet becomes part of the mouse. No, put the Victor mouse traps in a perimeter outside the car, not inside. So David Basili, what do you want to share?
Actually, John, I don't want to share anything. I'm
Okay.
exploring with my mouse on the screen.
Right, okay.
Sorry.
Says David Basili wants to share a screen with you. And before I put it up, because how do I know what's on your screen? Yep. Keith Stokes, what about covers, car covers? We've heard from Fred Horner, who says don't cover them at all, and me saying, hey, if you got other stuff going in the garage, it affords some impact. You're out in the garage, you're using your radial arm saw, and there's sawdust everywhere, and it gets in the car, and hey, you like to have it covered. So. Gerald Dalton says, where's the venue in Sandusky? That's my hometown, but I moved to Louisville 28 years ago. It's at the Kalahari. Gerald, it's at the Kalahari. They've got all the rooms in the world, and Jim Nybert's already put that in there, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Oh, here we got Bull's Knot Blastable Water-Based Odor Elimination Spray. $11 for 14 ounces spray can. This is from John Lind. And so this is once the mice get into your car after you've stored it in your neighbor's barn for a year, and the mouse jumps over you on the way out, and you open the boot and it reeks of mice. You buy Bull's Knot Blastable Water-Based Odor Eliminator Spray. So. And what is going on here? I'm going to X out of this because I don't know what that is. Okay, so if you take your battery out of the car, remember to put the cover back to prevent the mice from getting into your interior. Yeah, it would, sure, but it is they have other there are other entrances and exits, but yes, that makes sense. And also, as a comment about batteries, that was one of the questions, came up real early. What about restarting the car in the springtime? What rules do you have? So if you're going to put the battery back in the car after you've taken it out, make sure that you put it in with the correct terminals to the correct cables. The original cars all had black cables, right? They're all black. But later on, especially on the MGBs, when you go to a single 12 volt or even the 74 and a half and laters, there's a short ground strap. And if you need one of those, for whatever reason, you go in Napa and you say, hey, I need a battery cable that long, they bring you out a red one. So now you're putting red on negative and black on positive. Makes sense to you until you forget the next season and let all the smoke out of the alternator. Or your buddy helps you out and puts it in. He says, I put red to positive. So make sure that your battery posts are marked. I had an interesting one. A gal started up her car in the springtime, wanted to start it up, wouldn't start up, fuel pump wouldn't work. We had it towed in. I think I already talked about this once before. And so it was a transistorized, some kind of little tiny fuel pump in the back on an MGA. So I got another one and put that in. That didn't work either. I thought, that's just too weird, not having two of them work. So I got out my voltmeter and I checked, and sure enough, her battery had gone dead, and she remembered that her car used to be positive earth, so she charged it up positive ground. So her battery was hooked up negative, but she's charged up positive, which is why the transistorized fuel pump wouldn't work. So when we got it in the shop, I just turned the headlights on, waited for the battery to go flat, hooked up a battery charger the other way, charged it up correctly, and the replacement pump worked as well as the original one probably would have. So, all right, what MGB oil filter that mounts upside down and doesn't drain back? It takes several seconds before my car sees oil pressure at the gauge. It's startup from Gerald Dalton. So this, I used to tell everybody to get that 1068 Napa filter, but who gave me there's a Fram filter number. Who's got some of those?
I did. It's Purelator,
Purelator.
20195.
20195. I looked that up as a zip code just out of Washington, D.C. I remember when you told me that. I thought, where's 20195? Yeah. So okay, that's a Purelator. And I would still say the Napa Gold filter, but the problem was that a couple of them came through where they were either too short or they had an extra piece of metal welded on the inside that interfered with the inlet going to the engine. So the oil filter would fill up under some protest, but they just couldn't get any oil out of the filter and into the engine. It's like, whoa. So anyway, I haven't looked at a Napa Gold 1068 filter in a long time. Maybe I should go up and order one from Napa and just take a look at it.
Hey, John, I purchased a dozen. I don't drive my car much. I purchased a dozen percolators. I'm in Victoria, but I purchased a dozen from a Calgary shop. The PL is a whatever the number is an excellent filter, but I've got a lifetime supply.
Yeah. Yep. You can make a case. You make a case for doing that. So Picton says, good luck with bait chunks from farm store. Bait chunks. Also, fluid film as an alternative to WD-40. Well, this is in Canada. So yeah, I don't know what Canadian Tire sells, but fluid film. So it's all that carrier that stinks. So bait chunks, that must be to put underneath the car to entice the small rodents to eat something other than your car. Dave Smith says, I've read to overinflate by 10% or so. So you should run it up to maybe 36 pounds, but whatever. So there's so much interesting stuff that you read about this. Everyone has moisture wicking up unless you live in the desert, says Keith Stokes. Okay, so if you want to prevent your car from getting damp on the underside, either provide ventilation. There's no substitute to a box fan that just runs in your garage all winter and just keeps all the air swirling. And you can also park on a great big sheet of plastic, and that keeps all that moisture from coming up. Mark Webb says tires will have a maximum inflation rating on the sidewall. And that's usually enough. I've done this with my Mustang and my MGB. Okay. Larry says, thanks. Blair says, Fred, I'll let marketing group know about automobile winterizing lights. Don't know. Blair's our Sylvania man here. So, Ted Walkley there is a device called, I believe, Tire Saver that is plastic and you drive onto it and it maintains the round shape of your tire. I use it year round. They're available on Amazon. Tire Saver. Maybe you have to buy them by size or something, but okay. I don't think I've ever seen those. I've seen boots on cars before, but not tire savers. David Smith says I use bounce sheets, dryer sheets, and mothballs. Seems to work for me, and I put them everywhere. So the nice thing about putting them in bags, like I showed the Enos mothballs, they come in bags. The nice thing about getting those, or getting the little treasure bags that Jim was talking about from Hobby Lobby or Target or someplace. If you got these mothballs rolling around by themselves, there's always one that rolls someplace you can't get it, and so throughout the entire driving season, there's that tiny, tiny whiff of mothballs. It can be off-putting. I don't mind the smell myself, but I know a lot of people are like yuck. So do keep. Mark Webb says no problem with stable. However, do note it does expire. So that's interesting. So Ray, 2 years ago, mice got in my 77 MGB and made a mess. It was my attached garage that is insulated. It was also the first time in 20 winters. There's stuff everywhere, and they chewed up the covering of the passenger rear wheel wells and made a small hole in the top exterior drain well. I've set traps and have caught 3 so far this year. Last year I started using bounce dryer sheets. I can't stand the smell, so you can see why the mice hate it, but they seem to work. So, yeah. And you don't they put the dryer sheets, SJ says, where do you put the dryer sheets? It's like everywhere, underneath the bonnet, in the boot, and some in the cockpit. So, and Ray says everywhere except the engine compartment. So they nested in my trunk too. Plus, I made the mistake of leaving the top down. Big mistake. Al Gavsky says every opening. Put the dryer sheets in every opening. Half a box of sheets. If you're going to buy a box of sheets, use them, right? Footwells, pedal bucks, trunk, air filter intakes. The odor will dissipate. So, and Marty's got a yes, Fred.
I think the key there is the dryer sheets have to be scented. If you use the unscented ones, I don't think it'll matter much. You have to be scented ones.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes sense. Yes. Yeah. So I bought the plain ones because I couldn't stand the smell. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sean Crispin says, I was wondering if I could get someone to look at my car before winter. My husband just passed away from cancer and he built this car from scratch. I know nothing about cars. I have a really nice paint job, and her name is Blueberry, and I live in Battle Creek, Michigan. So Sean Crispin, yes, if Sean, if you're still on, you can get in touch with me, and I let me tell you some places that you might be able to get this taken care of. So, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Mark Webb, flat tire spots. If you do not have jack stands, inflate the tires to max rated pressure just during the winter. This helps with reducing the flat spots. So, so I had a Daimler, a 1957 Daimler with a Hooper body on it, and it had 16-inch, great big wide 16-inch tires, and they were nylon. And man, it didn't matter whether it was winter or summer. You started to drive that thing and it just went wow, 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 wow. Just, oh my gosh. After 20 miles, it smoothed out, you know. So, but anyway, I know about flat spots. And here Ted Walkley says there's a device you place on the floor and drive onto it, and we've already talked about that. Those are available on Amazon. Um, Steve Shupak, when are you going to offer some University Motors shirts for sale? Well, like this one with this like that.
That's the one. We've got shirt envy, and because they don't make your hats anymore, so we can't get those. So you got to get going on some of the swag or the merch.
The merch. Okay, I'll put
Yeah,
Marty
I've
on
got
that.
that on my radar. You're not the first one to ask.
Well, and so the race is on between University Motors and the Cadillac Formula One team, who my wife has a full-on uh, uh, heartthrob for with Checo. So I'd hope to get a University Motor shirt before I can get her Checo shirt.
Then send me an email. And
We have a
you
few in storage.
we have some, but the problem with most of the shirts we still have, which are University Motors t-shirts from past summer parties, is that they're like double X's and triple X's. And it doesn't look like
Actually, John, I found some in the adjacent drawer that are like small, medium, large. So I'll have to do a new inventory of what we've got.
all right. Okay.
But yeah, send an
I
email.
liked your MG shirts from the car shows. We've got a bunch of them.
Those,
Yeah.
it's just there's no fooling around. There's an MG, twice the size of a dinner plate on the front, and then some writing on the back. So one of
It
the
gets
guys that worked
attention.
for me years ago, um, um, he and his girlfriend, he'd restored his MGA and they took off for the summer, I think, and drove to Maine. Hell, I barely even kissed a girl when I got out of high school, and here he is traveling with his high school sweetie. Anyway, they were in Maine someplace at this little tiny stop and rob someplace in this little town. And Chris says, I turn the corner, start walking down the aisle. This girl starts walking towards me with a University Motors t-shirt on. So they're everywhere. So you can find those on or eBay. So anyway, Ted Walkley says there's a device called a tire saver. So we've talked about this. Those are available. Yep. And Lou Bala, do I get the same benefit from changing the oil prior to storage if I have to drive 40 miles to the storage unit? Oh yeah, you're not gonna ruin you can't ruin your oil in 40 miles. You can, but that's something else that would have to be terribly, terribly wrong. So no, that's fine. And you want to drive it just before you put it away anyway to get it nice and hot. You want to make that last run really hot so there's not a bunch of moisture in the tailpipe. So Ian says, "Hey John, I've driven my 66 MGB another 100 miles since the last Zoom. Oh, and my that transmission grinding noise has gone away after bleeding and refreshing the clutch fluid. I'm under the impression that the clutch wasn't fully contacting and harming the synchros in the process. Driving much better now. Car seems to like the cold weather. So anyway, that goes back to my mantra, which is always do the cheapest, easiest, simplest stuff first. I'm helping a guy here in Grand Rapids because he helped me out with our last club meeting, Craig, and he's got a TR6. So yeah, I sometimes I deal in the devil art, you know. And so we went over to his house and he can't get it in reverse. You know, it isn't fully disengaged. And I looked at the throw on the slave and on an MGB, the push rod on the MGB moves 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 to 7/16 of an inch. When you go underneath there and look and you tell your associate, step on the clutch, it looks like it moves that far. It looks like it moves that far. It doesn't. Put a ruler up there and it's only moving 7/16 of an inch. Well, this TR is moving like the better part of an inch. It's like 5/8 or 7/8. It's moving a lot. I don't know how much a TR has to move. So it looks like it's moving a lot. So I think his problem is probably in the clutch itself. But before you do the clutch, you always do the cheapest, easiest, simplest stuff first. And in that case, we're rebuilding his master and slave, putting a new hose on it, put it all together, bleed it, and it's either going to work or not. And if it doesn't work, you don't say, well, that was a waste. It's not a waste because if you put in a new clutch, you have to put in new hydraulics anyway. So you might as well put the new hydraulics in first.
Well, thank you for that, John. I just
Oh,
wanted to
yeah.
make sure that everything was sorted now. It is definitely the cold weather as well. You know, it's usually on a good day 65, 67. So it seems like it was the cold weather, even though I know weather doesn't really affect that as much. And you know that refresh. You know, I put the Valvoline .3 and 4 fluid in it, and you know it was pretty dark. I mean, you couldn't really see through it when I drained it,
Sure.
and so it seems to be doing a lot better now. So, like you mentioned, I believe it was in fact not necessarily the transmission and the gearbox. It was more so the clutch wasn't making that contact
Okay.
properly. So I think we're definitely in order now, and the old girl's driving great. So thank you for that, and I'm glad you like the photos and videos I sent you of inside the bell housing there, or the
Yes.
with the clutch
Yeah,
throwout bearing.
with a probe camera, I'd never seen a clutch work between the engine and gearbox. I'd never seen that. In I had a guy call me and he says, "Oh, I got a ratchet strap, and I've got a ratchet strap on the release bearing fork, and I'm pulling it back, and I don't think I can't get it to throw out." It's like I've never heard of anyone using a ratchet strap, but I'd never seen it actually happen in situ, So that is so cool. That's so wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank you, John. Appreciate it.
hey, John, you're talking about clutches and peppermint oil and all this stuff. I had a hell of a time trying to loosen up the hydraulic hoses on my car, and turns out that if you put on the peppermint oil onto the frozen nuts, it two things. The car smells nice, and then after a couple of applications, it actually was able to get the nuts loosened up.
Hey, okay, we got another vote for peppermint oil. Okay. Okay. All right. Yep. Um, so let's see, Phil. Um, I read that the problem with modern fuels is the different components settle into layers if the fuel is stored too long. Don't know. That's news to me. Um, didn't know. Seems like then after you drove it for a couple miles, all those levels would jostle around and would all be okay. So Amazon Prime closed cell foam. Oh, here we got a link to Amazon Prime closed cell foam by Frost King. Enough material for many charcoal canisters, but you can't have closed cell foam. You have to have open cell foam. So, say, Bill Thornton, I just went to pick up on your, I just want to pick up on your comment about anti-theft measures for Little British cars. is already built into my MGB, otherwise known as a clutch pedal, and gear stick. No one under 55 can drive my car anyway. They don't know how. For those that do, I have a battery cutoff switch. Yes. Yep. All those things are true.
That is amazing. I took my Focus to see somebody in a hospital, and something I never do, but I did. I used the valet parking. When I gave him the ticket to leave, it was over an hour waiting because of all the people that worked there. Only one knew how to drive a stick shift. I couldn't convince him to give me a discount, but I learned a lesson.
Yeah, you can also if you have a 68 through 76 and you don't have overdrive, you can use your overdrive switch to power your fuel pump. So you can be out in the country with your hot date and flick the switch when she's looking and say, "Oh, I must have run out of gas. We'll have to sit here and park for a while," you know. Anyway, you can. It's a real easy thing to do. If you do have overdrive, you can't use that switch. There's other ways to.
Have you actually done that, John?
What? Been on a
Use
date,
your
a hot
overdrive switch?
date, and shut the fuel pump off? No,
Yes.
How
no.
do you
I didn't think
explain that
I
the
have not.
fuel condensed back in the gas tank 2 hours later? I
Really?
never could come up with that part. Explain why I've got gas 2 hours later.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
miracle.
loaves
There.
of fish is right.
The gas ferry came by. Come on, don't you guys know anything?
I, I want to hear Gloria's take on that.
Guys are all bad.
It must be a Jewish car like the Hanukkah perpetual lamp.
Okay, so John R says, yes, mothballs are bad because they contain toxic pesticides, either naphthalene or paradichlorobenzene. He could spell it, I can only say it, that poses a significant health risk to human and pets if misused, ingested, or if the fumes are inhaled for extended periods. They are a regulated pesticide and must be used strictly according to label directions. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Well, maybe in the fine print it says something about putting them into your trunk. But yeah, we're not eating them. We're not eating them, swallowing or breathing them much. But they're between having the mice eat my interior and getting some fumes from naphthalene, I'll take the fumes of naphthalene. So okay. David Basili, nice oil filter consider is the K&N HP 2009. They're white, so you can use a marker to note the mileage and the date when it was installed. Also, they have a nut on the top for easy removal. That is nice. That is nice. That's a nice oil for K&N. David, is that a one-time use? That's not an element style. David must have made his escape.
It's a one-time use. I used to use
Okay.
them, but for half the price, I could get a pure later,
Okay.
20195, and then I found out it's the same filter that my Taurus takes, and 3 liter Taurus. So I've been using Motorcraft, and they had a good rating on the
Okay.
test, and they're white, and you can write all over them.
Okay. Great. That's a real wise thing to do is to write on the filter before you put it on, so all the lettering's in line. Easier to write on it like that. The mileage and the date, something like that. Hey, here we go. Here we go. We got it. We got a good one here from Sean Crispin. I hear a grinding noise in first gear. It's a new shifter and put gas in gas tank and I smell gas in the barn. I have my own shop with a hoist and Joe left me lots of tools. I use oils for everything. Any thought on on those two problems? So a grinding noise in first gear. Sean, are you still on? What year and model do you have? can't answer your question, Sean, if you don't come on.
1975 MG
Okay, is that a bee or a midget?
midget.
A midget. So it's a 75 grinding noise in first gear. Is that when you put it into gear, or is that when you're in gear and driving?
Both, I think.
Well, because there's a super
No, when I'm driving. Yeah, when I'm driving, John.
Yeah, that's no good. So that means that gearbox is from a marina, an Austin Marina, Morris Marina. They were and the early ones failed pretty quickly. They're still out there in the field. They came through with another whole set of gears. But my advice, I guess, is just don't use first much, because to rebuild that, if I was running a shop today and we're running at $100 an hour, we're looking at um, 20, maybe 20 hours, $2,000 plus parts, probably, 3 grand, something or other. So just stay out of first gear. So,
Okay.
but you should not smell gas. You should never smell gas. It should be all trapped. So in the trunk of the car, in the boot of the car, there are 2 hoses that connect the gas tank to the condensing canister, which is sandwiched way up inside the right rear fender. And then there's a hose that goes from that to a line that goes up to the charcoal canister. Those lines fracture real easily, and they're real old. Nobody ever pays attention to them. You don't see them. So find them, just replace them. A 1/4 inch or 5/16. Use Gates green hose. You can buy that at Napa. GATES is the trade name of the hose. And take an old piece of hose in, find the stuff. There's probably clips on the end of it to hold it tight. You have to squeeze those with a pair of pliers to get them off, and then they may crumble in your hand. But what happens when you have gasoline in the tank and you're using gasoline, air has to go in to replace the gas that's been drawn out. And conversely, if the gasoline expands in the tank, like you get a full tank of gasoline in August, and then you go park on the hot tarmac, it's all going to expand, and the air that's sitting on top of the gasoline has to go someplace. And so it's all supposed to be routed through the charcoal canister. But if those hoses are fractured, or the hoses just like them up front attached to the charcoal canister, any of those hoses that are open to the atmosphere, it can allow some fuel smell to get around. But you don't want fuel smell in the car. You want it's an indicator. All I can think of is George Doris, who had I don't know, a PA, an NA, I don't know, something before the war. Bunch of cars. He lived in Tennessee, up in the hills someplace, and he had a gas tank that every now and then would drip. It'd drip on his concrete floor. And he knew this, but it didn't drip much. And he said he went out one morning, turned on the heater, and he hears this thump, and looks around. It's, what in the world was that? He gets on his hands and knees, looks across the concrete floor, and it's like a sterno can. All that gasoline has been absorbed by the concrete and is now burning. So it caught his cars on fire. And by the time the fire department got there, he'd lost his cars and a third of his house. So maybe it's nothing, maybe it's just some fumes, but go in and change all those hoses. Change all those hoses, and then see if there's a change in that smell.
Okay,
John,
thank
say
you.
the name of those hoses again.
What's that?
Say the name of those hoses again.
So the hose that I like to use as a replacement hose is Gates. They make fan belts, they make hoses. GATES, Gates. But you want the green hose. There's this little green thread that goes through the hose, and it's $2 more per foot. But all rubber hoses, gasoline can evaporate from all rubber hoses. How? I don't know. How is that even possible? But if you take an original Gates hose and a green hose and fill them both with gasoline, block off the ends, wait a year, and come back, the regular one is empty because it's all gone someplace, but the green hose still has some gas in it. So it doesn't allow the gasoline to get out of the hose as quickly. So that's why I like the green hose.
Is there a steel line that runs the frame of the car up to the
Yes.
canister?
Yes.
So then you would just be replacing maybe 4 or 6 inches worth of rubber hose then
Yeah.
at each
Yeah.
end.
More like a foot and a half and a foot, but yes. Yes.
Okay, because
Yep.
I had that same problem. I had a different way of correcting it. I just drove faster and I didn't smell it anymore.
Well, people will call me and they'll say, I'm getting the smell of gasoline in the cockpit when I'm driving. Therefore, something in front of me, because the wind's coming at me, right? Therefore, something in front of me must be weeping gasoline for me to pick up the smell. But in fact, it's not that. It's as the windscreen goes through the car and goes through the air and pushes the air out of the way, air's got to come back in to fill that air behind it, which is why no girl with long hair has her hair fluttering out the back of the car. It's always around her face and pointed towards the windshield. You've got all this air that's coming up from the back of the car, and coming up from the back of the car are all those fumes out of the trunk. So it's a real common place to.
Well, that makes sense. I just put my hard top on now for the fall, and I don't really smell it anymore because I always have the convertible top is always down, and then
Okay.
that would pull that odor in from the back. But now with my hard top on, I don't really smell it. So
Yeah,
that would make sense.
the trunk doesn't there's no there hardly any holes between the enough for mice, but hardly anything, to between the boot and the cockpit. And we've got Sean, we've got other comments here is to check for gasoline leaks, under by the engine on your car. The fuel pump is located on the left rear of the engine. There's some lines that go to it there. It's about the size of your fist, and it's got another line that goes from there across the back of the engine over to the carburetor. So all those lines could stand. You just change them all. So, and here Marty's already she's on the spot here. So here we've got gates.com/us/en/fluid power engine hose .html. So anyway,
Yeah. You said the one with the green stripe, but when I looked at that, it wasn't for fuel. It was for something else.
Vapor, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay.
But they have. I'll put up the green stripe one too.
Okay. All right.
And John, how many feet would you want to buy?
Oh, 4 feet. There's enough left to whip your cat. Um, yeah, there's probably a foot and a half, 2 foot in the. Oh wait, you're from Canada. I got to do this in centimeters.
Well, no, the 9 inches is fine.
Hey, I'm putting you on, Gary. About 4 foot, 4 foot with all the stuff with your MGB. Is that 80 or on 77 or yeah? You need all kinds of hose. Just change it all. Fuel and evaporative line. Yeah, probably 4 feet, 1/4 inch, and maybe 3 feet of 5/16 or something. There's a lot of hoses there to change. So
I'm sorry. So that was 4.
Well,
four?
this I don't know. It's off the top of my head. I don't know.
All right. So. And the two sizes were how much? The 1/4 inch and
quarter and 5/16, 1/4 inch and 5/16.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you.
We're right towards the end of the seminar, so I'll just open it up if anybody's got any comments or questions or anything. And then Doug Clark, are you on tonight?
I don't think Doug's here.
Oh no.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
All right.
Save your hat.
Yeah. Hey, I'll still show off my hat. I'll show off my hat now since Doug isn't here. This is a pith helmet that belonged to my late wife's grandfather, made in Barbados. Okay, British Army.
That is.
He was a major in the British Army during World War II. Worked UXB, unexploded bombs. So anyway, there is a real pith helmet. So anyway, anyway. So I'll use
I do
something
have
else
what
for.
might be a.
I'll use something else for Doug when
Well,
next time.
I found this in my office.
Oh, look
Oh
at
yeah,
this.
So
Yeah.
this is
we have some of those.
2014 edition apparently. So yeah,
Where's-
I have some that I would wear to events if we would hold events, but we didn't have one this last year, so it's just sitting waiting.
So you can send
John,
a
John,
note
I-
to send a note to
Yeah.
Marty. She'll send you, and that's not info at what your
University Motors Online at Gmail.
okay, University Motors Online at Gmail. So Marty would be happy to send you a shirt for, I don't know, we got to talk about the price, but probably $20 plus the shipping. So
yeah.
John,
anyway,
I got what might be a silly question. I had a 71 Roadster as my second MG, and the heater was really good. I mean, it blew you out of the car. My 73 I had, my 74, well, the heat's just a suggestion. I mean, it's not, it's barely there. But my 71 GT, it has heat that'll blow you out of the car. So I wonder if they used a different size wire, something. The 71's just, and that's
no, it
just a
just has to do
coincidence.
with it. It has to do with the heater control valve and what the thermostat setting is, and how hot the coolant is that's going through the heater matrix. And, back when they're doing, complete lubes, and we never got to flushing the cooling systems during the complete lube, but sometimes we'd flush the cooling system because we knew there's a problem. And I think I had one time that I took the two lines off an MGB heater, took the garden hose and just put it up against the top outlet, ran water in there, pushed all the silt stuff down and blew it out on the bottom, blew it out onto the distributor, into the back of the alternator and everything. I think that ran red with rust and silt for 20 seconds. It was just like, really, I mean, there was a lot of water coming out of there, and all that stuff, it was cleaned up. Oh my gosh, it works great. Although there's no such thing as heat in an MGB. There may be warmth. There's no heat. There's no such thing as a defroster. That's a cruel, cruel trick that the engineers pulled on the salespeople. Demist, I'll get you there, but no, it's. On the other hand, Carolyn and I drove our GT every day of the year, and this is Minot, North Dakota, so it wasn't -20 outside, but it was 5. It was 5, it was 0, it was -5. Some mornings when you'd go out and sit in the car, and this poor starter motor would go wrong, wrong, and then it'd start up because it got the choke pulled out, and I always seemed to have the cars tuned correctly. And it would sit there and idle at about 2 pounds of oil pressure. Then pretty soon it'd be 5, and then it'd be 10, and then it'd be 20. And about 30, once you get up to about 30 pounds of oil pressure, because it's like sucking, I talked to a guy the other day, sucking treacle, the syrup off the bottom of the sump. I mean, it's just impossible to get in. So you don't want to stress it because you haven't got enough oil pressure. But real quickly that oil gets warmed up. So.
Yeah, I drove my 71 Roadster all year long, but the salt ate it. So I had to get it redone in the spring. And so I never do that anymore. But that car was, I paid $24.95 for it with 11,000 miles on it. When I totaled it at 80,000, they gave me $28.95.
You can do that.
Signed and ran.
You can do that all day. Yep. Yep.
So,
yeah,
John, sorry.
Steve.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so my wife figured out that she likes driving in the Roadster without the top, year round here in chilly Newport Beach with the electric blanket plugged into the cigarette lighter,
Whatever.
wrapped up like a cocoon.
Hey, how nice is that?
I got a comment on that, John.
Amazon 12-volt blanket. Home
That
run.
is a good idea.
I used to take a blanket, but I haven't thought of electric. Wow.
Yeah,
That
Well,
that's a
I
great
is
use
idea.
awesome.
electric
My,
gloves,
I
but
got one of those for my wife as well, and she wraps herself up in it, plugs it in, and says, "Let's go."
Really?
Amazing that there's two of them out there.
John, when I
Yeah,
lived in Maine, I would have to, with my Triumph, in order to make it start, I would take an electric blanket under the bonnet and plug it in overnight. And that was before LED, so you could actually get heat out of light bulbs. So I'd put 200-watt light bulbs underneath the car, and usually I could get it to start in the
Where,
morning when it would be. This was
where,
in the northern part of Maine,
oh, all right.
uh,
Okay. Okay.
not South Carolina.
Yep. Oh
so
my
we
gosh.
go up in the mountains sometimes and it gets pretty cold, even in the summertime. So
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
If you can pull that choke out far enough to drop the jets that far, 3/8 of an inch, you drop the jets on old carburetors that far, it doesn't matter what the temperature is, it'll start up, so.
I I
You
liked
got
your
enough
attitude.
battery to turn the motor.
I liked your attitude, and we were going to work on that 52 TD Mark II that sat for 33 years. So I called you up. I don't know if you remember this, and I said, "Should I take this job?" And you said, "If the engine turns over, it'll start. It's an MG," and it did. We got it back on the road. And the problem was the reason that they sat under a cover because it wouldn't run. It didn't have a ground strap. When they put the clutch in, they put the ground strap from the body to the frame. And once we figured that out, it ran great.
Hey, it's you always do the cheapest, easiest, simplest approach. So let me remind in everybody that if a person presents himself as a mechanic and he's neither bleeding nor scabbed
Yeah.
nor has dirty fingernails, he's not a mechanic. He's a poser. So I'm still sporting my scab here. So I was working today. I was working today, and I'm working tomorrow. I got Craig's coming up. He'll be here in the morning. We're going to rebuild some carburetors for his TR3. Just to have a good time. So
Hey,
anyway, it's
Don,
Like
I got a
they,
question for you.
Jim.
Have you thought any more about the second hand on the clock and the erratic?
Okay, this is one I'll put out to everybody because I'm
Because
stuck.
it works fine when it's just not running. When I start the car, second hand spins fast, and the tack becomes erratic.
What year?
80.
80 MGB.
Mhm.
So if it's sitting still, the clock just tick, tick, tick once a
Works.
second. But as soon as
Perfect.
it started, then the second hand takes off and the
It's
tack
erratic.
becomes erratic. Yep. Faulty ground. It's got to be a faulty ground. But because because I read in my own publications that when something weird happens, that would count as weird. It's a faulty ground. So anyway, here we are. If anyone has
John,
any hints on that, I've seen that before, and I can't remember what it was. I keep telling Jim, I've seen that before, that spinning clock, but I can't remember what it was.
Faulty voltage regulator?
Nope.
Nope.
Sure. I mean, anything's possible, but it's uh, you could put a voltmeter between the third fuse and ground and expect to see 14 volts, lights on, lights, anything above 1000 RPM, lights on, lights off. It ought to be stabilized at 14. If if one of the diodes has gone bad inside the alternator, it's given a pulse, that could screw up the tack, it could screw up the clock. So it could be the diode pack and the alternator. Sure, why not? But I'm not sure. It'd be interesting to find. So there's something for you to Jim. Another project. You can take the alternator off, take it to the alternator shop, and of course the guys say, "Yep, working just fine." And if one of the diodes is out, Usually what happens is you get the ignition warning light glows. I mean, glows so dimly that you cannot see it glow in the daytime. It's you either got to pull the bulb out and look at the bulb with your hand cupped around it, or use another test light or a voltmeter between hot, like the third fuse down, and the yellow brown with the yellow wire coming out of the alternator.
Where would you check the ground?
Between hot and the white with brown coming, white with yellow, excuse me, the white with yellow coming out of the, you have to pierce it. So you take your 12
Okay.
volt test light and pierce that wire and see if you see.
John,
Yeah.
what about the voltage stabilizer that's up on the firewall inside the
Well,
cockpit?
that doesn't run the clock and it doesn't run the tach. So it's not in the circuit. Doesn't mean it doesn't affect it, but it's not between, it's not in this, either of those two circuits.
I'm just drawing a blank here. Did I miss the first chapter? What clock are we talking about?
77 through 80.
Ah,
Judd,
I've never been
on new
modern.
MGBs, the new MGBs that are 45 years old.
I didn't know that happened. Okay, thank you. Much newer than me.
John.
That would be called
Yeah.
a timepiece then.
The difference between a tach and a rev counter, right? The difference between a convertible and a roadster. Yeah, a clock on a TD is not a clock; it's a timepiece. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, I hope
do not hook it up to a switched circuit.
That makes
'Cause then
sense.
it only runs occasionally.
Yep. Someone else tried
John.
to. Oh, Alan.
Yeah. A couple comments on the question. On the, you're mentioning the red ground wire on the battery that you can buy from Napa and so forth. I found somewhere, I got some heat shrink spaghetti in black. It's big enough to go over that wire and covers the red.
Okay.
So at least you end up with two
Yep.
two black wires and instead of that other. On the Gates green hose, in some auto parts shops, will they call that injector hose?
I don't think so. I think injector hose is real high pressure hose.
Okay.
High pressure.
Okay. And I had a question about you were just touching on the diode packs. On my magnet, I've got the problem with the soft glowing ignition warning light, and I have a voltmeter on the car, which it varies a little bit, but it'll never go much more than 12 volts. And when I shut things off and I measure the voltage at the battery, it's actually a little higher when
Sure.
when it's off.
Well, that's because it's not charging. So
yeah.
So can you get the wires off the control box or not?
Well, no. Okay. This is alternator positive ground.
You got
magnet.
you got one of those Holden lookalikes.
No, I wish I did, but no,
okay.
I have just this is regular Lucas alternator.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. Something wrong with the diode pack.
Okay. Well, I'll give that a try. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have an interesting story about you mentioned the glowing of the alternator light. A guy I knew had a Austin Healey 3000, and he was coming up from Florida with his daughter, and he saw this slight glow, and so he didn't want to shut the car off. They'd stop to go to the bathroom. He left the car running. They stopped to eat. He'd get something to go. When the light went behind, or when the sun went behind a cloud, the glow went away. He was rather embarrassed.
All right. That's cool. Yep. Well, Everyone, thank you very, very kindly. I was supposed to stop at 8 o'clock and make another commercial pitch for PayPal. That and respond to the pretty little sign that says "Help John afford his retirement." And Bill Barge, I don't think I've missed any of the 110 Zooms. I don't think you've missed them either, Bill. Your name is right there at the top. So.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
John?
concur. I don't think he missed any.
Hey, John, what about November 22nd?
November 22nd is a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's my birthday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What about your birthday?
Well, I'm going to be double sevens. Oh, 77.
That'll be double sevens again.
That's
Yep.
good luck.
Oh my gosh. So that's all I know about the 22nd, I think. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And next time we're going to do, we wanted to do. I was talking to Marty and I said, "Oh, what am I supposed to do tomorrow night? Maybe I'll do cooling, fans and water pumps." And it's like now in November, it's how about warming? So it seemed inappropriate. So I said, "Well, how about restoration?" Restoration's got lots, this is the winter time. Cars are, except for Judd, people are pulling their cars off the road and they're lying quietly. And now is the time to do something to it. But we've had some people ask about modifications. And that is like modifying what? Your windshield, your radio, your gearbox, your engine, your lights, there's a lot of modifications that people do with their MGs. So we'll make that one or two seminars coming up sometime soon also. Anyway, I just want to say thank you very kindly to everybody who's here. It's always a pleasure. Thanks very, very much for being here, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed. So
You're going to be back, and you'll be back in 2 weeks.
yes, sir.
17th.
On whatever I said so early on,
Yep,
I can't
17th.
remember. 17th, the 17th. Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thanks
All
go
right.
to you, John.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
John.
Yeah, and I still will be 76. I'm gonna hold
It's
on
a young
to
twist.
I'm gonna hold on to that as long as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Just
turned
a kid.
78.
So-
You're young to me.
Wait
Yeah.
5 days past yours, John, and I'm 86. So
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
it goes by too fast.
Yeah,
Just embrace it.
Yep. And Alan's tooting his own horn here. Get it? Okay.
Hey, like my
About as much as
90-year-old
I get these days.
like my 90-year-old friend said, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, ladies, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always, and we'll look forward to a new topic and more exciting interactions among all of us. So thanks all.
It was good subject.
Good.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
John.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you,
John.
Marty.
What's the high watermark?
Oh, how many people?
Yes.
159.
159, and then you'll tell me later how many unique people.
No, I caught them all today.
All right.
It was
Okay.
159 on my
Okay.
name count too.
All right. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I grabbed them all.
Hey, very cool. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Thank
All
you,
right.
John.
Night,
Good
y'all.
night, all.
See you.
See
Good
you
night.
next time.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Go down to my gallery view, see who's still there. Peter Price, thank you very kindly. You're very kind to me. Barney, we didn't hear from you today, so I guess we didn't have enough MGA stuff going on. And Ian, congratulations. I think you're the youngest guy here tonight with all these other boomers. So thank you. Thank you for being with us. It's real nice.
It's a
And-
pleasure, John. I sometimes people poke fun at me for hanging out in a older age bracket, even though none of you, all of you here, don't look a day over 20.
Yeah.
But I just turned 20 on October 30th.
Yay,
So
that's right. You had a birthday too.
yeah, so that was fun. But it is always a pleasure to hear the conversations and to hear from people that already have so much experience, and that is the best way to learn. Because really, as it's happening right now, British cars are just they're definitely becoming a key and sole passion for me. So my 66B here is this one is my proudest one yet. That's my third one. So, but it's old English white with a red interior, and I've got it set up real nice. The interior in this car is really nice. Really nice story from former owners, journals, diaries, and such. So.
Oh, wow.
It's a great car, and I just love hearing from others. And I'm hoping to attend several events next year and meet a lot more people. MG International, I'm hoping to make that. The MG, I know I'm going to the MG GOF in Florida. So a lot of stuff like that, and hope to see and meet more people out there. So I'll have my article published on the NAMJR soon as well.
Oh yeah,
So,
I just got my I just got it
Today.
today.
yeah, I think I will be in the
The next
January, February
Okay.
one.
Yep, I haven't even opened up the packet. It's
Yeah, I did get that one as
still in
well.
its sleeve. Yep.
It's good to see young people and women.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, and it's just a simple car. Your riding lawnmower might be more complicated than your MGB.
Yeah, because
and that's definitely funny. It's definitely like that.
It quits when you reverse it. It quits when you get off the seat. You're riding
Yeah.
lawnmower. I had to disable all those switches so I could use it. Jeez. So, all right.
I
Well,
just
anyway,
bought just an interesting thing. I bought a John Deere from my brother's ex-wife. Got a real super deal, 48-inch cut. Don't need that much, but I couldn't pass it up. So I'm reading on the little sticker. It's got cruise control.
Cruise control.
Our lawn is not that big.
Yeah, my lawn's not that big.
But does it have cup holders?
Yes.
It does.
It does, yeah.
It's cup holders and cruise control. I was amazed.
okay.
Yeah.
Till then.
Good night.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Good
Looking
night.
forward to the next one.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you all.